What is going on, everyone? It's a lovely day here in Boston, Massachusetts. Per usual, it's 70 degrees one day, snowing the next, and we're just living life. But I'm excited to do some interviews today. You guys know I'm always excited to do interviews, no matter what day of the week it is, no matter when it is. And usually I'm doing solo artists, and I've only done about a handful of duets and bands and stuff like that. So today I got a little bit of a treat for you guys. Joshua and Prez are here from Gospel Child. How are you guys?
Great. How are you?
And not too bad, not too bad. It's just crazy to always think about how many interviews I've done so far, and I'm just enjoying the ride because I never thought it would really turn out the way it has. So it's just truly a blessing to really just talk to new artists and really discover people's journey through music.
Yeah, we feel similar right now. Like we're just kind of entering into music, excuse me, for the first time as professional musicians for the fun of it. Like as crazy as that sounds,
Yeah, we don't have anybody else speaking into our projects really but us, and we're the
that's
only ones.
and that's really rare for us.
Yeah,
No,
and I
right. And that's honestly really, really cool and awesome to just talk to like independent artists and stuff like that because it's just so cool to see. Because I mean, with record labels and stuff like that, things can get a little difficult and like there's like fine wires that you can walk across and stuff like that. So it's just really cool to have interviews like this where you can just, you guys are doing your own thing and no one's really telling you what to do and you're just experiencing it all. And that's just really cool.
yeah, there's been so much freedom in it because there's no longer that you're not supposed to do that with this sound. You shouldn't never use this mic with this. We're
Yeah.
fully in explore mode and it feels really good.
No, that's awesome. So kind of just before we get into all the questions, not even music wise, just obviously if you want to let the people know just like where you guys are, just kind of like what you guys are doing besides music and stuff like that, real quick before we hop into all the questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Feel free to edit this if you need to cut out the crazy. Um, okay, hang on, Andrew. we It's gonna seem like we're doing like two truths and a lie
This
here.
is not made.
Okay, where do we begin? So we
We're engaged. We'll start
Oh
there.
yes. Okay, so
Okay,
we're engaged, recently engaged in December.
congratulations.
Thank
Yes.
you.
We're really excited about that. But we were really good friends first before all of that, and we had done projects together. So we did actually, funny enough, we had a creative business together where we would create creative content for other people. And one of the first things we did was a video called COVID.
This was before
And this was
COVID,
before
like
COVID.
right before COVID. This
Oh, okay.
launched a business called
And
COVID.
the next day I thought, "Oh my gosh, did COVID go viral?" And then I was like, "Oh no, no, no. Wrong, very, very wrong kind of viral."
Yeah.
And yeah, so
We've done a lot of different like creative projects together. And then through that, a lot of illness actually happened. So Presley has been really sick for a long time and was diagnosed with chronic Lyme disease.
Okay.
Right at that same time, I was diagnosed with diverticulitis and had to like have crazy surgery. So we found ourselves in this spot, like health wise, where it led us to one of the things Presley needed to eat all organic to for her diet for her Lyme disease, and so we learned how to garden and we built garden beds. And this is probably going to be the craziest thing we say today here. So part of her treatment is to sting her with bees.
Oh,
So
okay.
called apitherapy. And that's where we lose people usually.
everyone,
Are you still with us? Okay.
Um,
There's some keepers here.
yeah. So we have we're beekeepers. So we keep bees because we felt like we wanted to make sure we were putting more bees back into the population.
Now,
right.
while this happened, we were on lockdown and we had both lost our jobs. And so we decided that for our kids, we wanted to get them doing something with friends. And the only thing we could do was Zoom. So we created something called Recess for Parents, which is basically an hour long class every day where anybody can come join and we talk about music. We share anything that the kids are working on, or we talk about like societal impacts on music and cultural impact and vice versa and things like that, which then spurred on to us teaching lessons. So we now have two companies. It's called Garden Punks. If you guys want to check us out on that, no press. And then Good Vibes Music Academy. So those are the two projects that we do on the side that keep us going. And then we're working on this album.
Yeah.
No, that's exciting. And it's just really cool that you guys do a lot of stuff like for the community and stuff like that, like you just mentioned, because I remember previous interview, shout out to Savon Campbell. He does a lot of like outreach stuff like that and helps charities like local and like buildings and stuff that are kind of getting torn down. Like he helps with a lot of those projects and stuff like that. And a lot of his revenue from songs and stuff he donates to charities. So it's just really cool to always hear like special things like that, because it's always a big thing in my heart is if I can go out of the way to help someone, then at the end of the day, that's what makes me happy.
Yeah, same. Can I just share one more thing with this? Yes. So one of the things that we did with our music academy is we started this thing called the Legacy Program, and it is so cool because so we've been taking to like Facebook Marketplace and things like that, and just throwing out there like, hey, there are kids out there that need instruments, and we'd love to get these instruments to these kids. And the whole community is like chipping in. I've been driving around the last like few months, like picking up guitars and basses and amps. And then now we're like getting them into the hands of kids. And so it's really fun to like,
we literally have 20 rainbow xylophones, literally totally. 20 just of them sitting in the garage.
No, that's awesome. That just stuff like that really just, it really ramps up the interview, and it just really makes my day to hear stuff like that people are doing such amazing things in this world, because we need more people like you guys, and we just need more people to come together and do stuff like this.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thanks, Andrew. Yeah,
no, of course. So kind of getting into the first question of all the questions I have, there's only 5, but nothing too crazy. Is I start with the basic of basics, is where did singing and like playing instruments, like where did all that start for both of you? Like, was it at early ages? Like, was it just recently? Just how did all the music stuff come about for you guys?
Go, Joshua,
go. Okay. Do you want to ask that again just because she talked over it a little bit, or no? All right.
No, unless you need me to repeat the question, but
no. Okay, sorry, I got sidetracked. I'll go first. Okay, so for me, it was like a weird journey into music. I grew up in this small, like really rich, artsy community, but I was not really rich. Like I was like, like all my friends, like for example, one of my best friends in the whole world, his dad was like one of the CEOs of Intel computers, like that kind of rich in the area that I grew up in. And I was not wealthy at all. We were just very, lower class. And so all my friends had instruments, and they had like killer instruments too, like drum sets and electric guitars. But like I couldn't get one of those. But I was the only person who was not too afraid to sing. So like I showed up, they had like asked if I would like come and sing for them. Because I think I had told them I did sing, which I had never sung before in my life. So I show up, and I don't know if anyone is even going to know this, but there was a song back in the day called The Three Little Pigs by a band called Green Jello. Ringing a bell? Is like, it's just, Green Jello actually got sued and had to change their name to Green Jelly. But if you know who Guar is, this is a whole like metal section here. Guar was Green Jello, and they had this one hit song. Anyways, I showed up and I sang this Three Little Pigs song. And that was it. Like I got into the talent show with my friends.
Do you remember the song?
Well, the first little piggy. Like it was just like it's like a joke song, right? Like there's like a claymation video. Look it up. It's fascinating. Anyways, and so then from there, like I started playing music with my friends, and then I got involved in church, and church gave me like my youth group. They gave me like a platform. They like threw me up there because they heard I could play guitar and sing, and I started doing that in high school, and then I got into like some punk rock bands. And then eventually I made my way up from my hometown, which is it's Carmel, California, up into the Bay Area where I'm at now. And I came up here because I got hired at a church to work up here and do their music program. And at the same time, I was asked by someone across the bay from us, like an hour away, if I wanted to try out for a band. And these guys were like a serious band. Like they had a rehearsal space. Like I had never in my life like heard of bands having rehearsal spaces. It was all garages. And so I tried out for this band called 11 Teen, and they asked me to come and be the singer. And shortly after I joined, we got signed to a record label, and we found ourselves recording in like one of the nicest studios in San Francisco. um like, for example, while we were recording there, Third Eye Blind was recording there,
Mhm.
and Charlize Theron was dating the singer of Third Eye Blind and actually like walked out.
And she is as beautiful as we all think.
Yeah, she's like super tall, beautiful. It was such, I was like, I didn't even know what to say, so anyways, so I had this really cool experience in this band, and then we started touring, and we did the Warped Tour for a few years.
Mhm.
um there's a amphitheater out here called Shoreline Amphitheater. I got to like open up for the Foo Fighters,
That's awesome.
on a stage that I had been like viewing since I was a kid, like, and so we toured around, but it kind of burnt me out. Like, I didn't like touring much.
Yeah.
And so at the same time, my role at like the ministry role, this church role, was like growing, and so I was the lead musician for this like mega church. And then I did that for 20 years. I left the band. I did that for 20 years, and just kind of like, it put music on hold, because music was no longer about me. It was about like what I was doing for everyone else.
Right.
So that's a little bit of like my crazy journey into music. So
Yeah.
what about
Which
you?
my meet cute is now here. So during this time, I am super, super sick. Oddly enough, I think I actually got my tick bite or mosquito bite when I was at the Berklee College of Music when I was 16.
Mhm.
Because you're from Boston, so like, there's, I forget what the name of the other college is, but it's like a community college, or it's another college near the Berklee College of Music. Anyway, there's like a creek and a field,
Mhm.
and we would sit there and play. But I think that's when I first started getting sick, which is really when my first musical, like, I really started taking music seriously. But where my journey begins is I've always loved music. Even, I mean, my parents always tell the story of how my mom would feel nauseous, but as soon as she put George Benson or like the Temptations on, that I would calm down. So I always loved singing nursery rhymes, and even if I didn't know what the words were, I had a good memory, and had good pitch because my grandpa sang, and then my mom's siblings played music. My dad taught me a couple of chords later in life, but I think what really pushed me was I lived in LA for a while, and I did actually acting and modeling and singing there. And so just kind of having this musical theater background, I think, just helped me to not be afraid of just performing, and I really loved it. But through that, I found out that what I really loved most of all was music. I loved the composition, the orchestra, the live rehearsal. I loved the sound stage setup. So I decided that I wanted to take it seriously, and I was starting to write music at this time. This is in high school. So I got into the Berklee College of Music's program, and then I decided, wow, I am a big fish in a very, very tiny pond, because I was really one of the only people who could sing and play guitar in my hometown. And also, I was a girl. But when I got there, there was thousands of me there. And so that really pushed me to really figure out who I was, as corny as that sounds. But I was happy that I had that, because I was like, wow, I don't want to be anything that the media is telling me to be. I want to be exactly who I am. So I decided I want to study audio engineering and classical guitar to help with my songwriting. During this time, again, I'm super, super sick, but I just thought it was normal, college life, you're stressed out type of thing.
Yeah.
And so I ended up having to move back home. When I moved back home, the church that he's talking about actually used to be my home church. We're both not part of a church or religious in any way now, but that is where I met Joshua, and we became creative directors together in different areas. And then we both just kind of kept finding ourselves in the same circles over the years, making a lot of creative projects together and having a lot of creative chemistry. And then we found ourselves making music together, and we even, like, one of the songs we're going to perform today is the first song that we ever wrote together.
Mhm.
Oh,
So, yeah, we're really
that's exciting. I always love the end of the interviews. Like, as much as I love hearing stories through music, it's always the music at the end that really just is the best part of the interview. Um, so kind of getting into the second question a little bit is I like to talk about inspirations. Now, obviously, I usually talk with solo artists. So like I ask them kind of like who are some of their inspirations that they look up to. And obviously that kind of goes for the same question as you guys, but also, do you guys kind of like inspire each other as well to really push your music as well? And just who are some artists and like bands and stuff that you guys look up to when you make music?
Yeah, again, like all things in my life, the journey is odd. So I grew up with a mom who listened to like pop music, and then my dad. I remember he would like one of the only things I really remember about this guy is he would blast like Led Zeppelin super loud, and he was totally cool with me playing like my Metallica cassette tapes in his truck. And so I kind of started down the path of like metal when I was in junior high and listening to like Cannibal Corpse and Deicide and all these like metal bands, which then kind of gave way to like punk rock when I was when I was in high school. And I grew up. My uncle was in like a pretty big pop punk band called No Use for a Name. They were like one of my favorite bands, and he was in it. It was like the coolest thing. So I kind of like journeyed through punk rock for a long time, but I was also like a closet like Garth Brooks fan. And I'm out now. I'm fully out, and I'm like, I'm so stoked because I love Garth Brooks. He's one of the most incredible songwriters. He's influenced so much of like my melody writing and my songwriting. And so that was like deep inside of me, but on the surface, I'm like this punk rock kid, and we're going to I was got super into like hardcore music and like the scene, and Boston's got a huge like hardcore scene.
Yeah.
And so, but I always was kind of drawn to the indie bands from like the acceptable indie bands. So like Elliott Smith or like Ryan Adams. Like I started getting really into Whiskey Town, and so like and then Graham Parsons and all of these like country artists. And so like I've just kind of always started like having like writing a country like towards a country bend in like my songwriting. I don't know how else to explain it, but those are kind of the influence. So, but my biggest influence probably like I love Fugazi, the post punk band Fugazi. I love their ethics, like the DIY whole thing, like staying away from major labels. Like it's just such a cool. So that's influenced me a lot, like personally, musically. Like I mean, man, I love. This is wild to say. I love Silverchair. The band Silverchair is incredible. They have an album called Diorama. It's a masterpiece, but I love like really theatrical singy stuff, but I also love like country and alt country a lot too.
Yeah, like Rufus Wainwright.
Wainwright, yeah, singer songwriter stuff, yeah.
Counting Crows. Okay, where mine could not be the more opposite. So I grew up listening to pretty much all Motown, R&B, Michael Jackson, Temptations, Spinners, Aretha Franklin, like all kinds of stuff like that. I love jazz, and I do remember that the first cassette tape that I really loved, oddly enough, was Amy Grant. I didn't even know who she was really at the time, but I loved her cassette tape. It is the one that that came before her famous like da 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 da.
Ever since the day,
yeah. And a lot of choral singing and a lot of choreography, a lot of influence from the other side. So on the stage a lot, but I got a lot of influence being on the other side of the stage. So running a soundboard and setting up microphones. And it completely changed the way that I started to write and arrange, because then I started thinking about where it was going to go and how an engineer was going to hear it.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a big influence. Joshua's a huge influence to me. I love Ivory Owl on Spotify and 11teen. I swear to you, I was a fan before anything. So they're really, really great songs. Some of my other influences.
People often ask how I landed such a beautiful woman.
Ivory Owl.
Not because of these looks, I'll tell you that. I can write. No, I'm just kidding. I don't. She's blind.
No, I'm not. I do have bad eyesight though. No, but some of my other influences, I think one of my biggest ones actually is Corinne Bailey Rae in her album Heart Speaks in Whispers, because it has so much of the neo soul, funk, R&B, soul music that I love placed with her voice, which is not typically the kind of voice that you hear with that kind of music. Like if you think of D'Angelo or Kendrick Lamar or Layla Hathaway. They've got like powerhouse voices, but Corinne Bailey Ray can do the same thing. And I had a master class with her, and she said, whatever your instrument is, use that. And so for her, it's her voice, and that was really really inspiring to me. Those are just
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I always just I have to go back to what Joshua said is Garth Brooks, because it's just so funny. No matter what type of genre I'm talking with, like with artists and stuff like that, whether it's like pop, R&B, rap, like just anything, like somehow the country always comes back around, because I'm a country boy at heart, and that's what I was born and raised on, like that early 2000s and 90s country. And it's just funny that you mentioned Garth Brooks out of all artists, because I'm actually going to see him in a couple of months in in Foxborough. So it's always just really really cool to hear that, and how that's just all kind of coming full circle now.
Will you tell him I love him? Like, actually, can you find a way to just whisper it into his ear? I'll do anything.
No, trust me. Hey, I'm saying my name first, but I will definitely add your name in
Andrew,
there.
can I draw you a picture to give to him? Is that possible?
we'll draw you in it too.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, as long as I'm in it, that's fine with me. And then obviously just talking about, like, I mean, great singers and songwriters like that is just their storytelling aspect when it comes to songwriting. Because at the end of the day, just songwriting and like the storytelling behind it is really what draws me into music. And it's always just really, really cool to ask this next question that I'm going to ask is, what's the creative process like when you guys, obviously you guys are working on an album, so when it comes to writing a song and just kind of producing it all up and stuff, how does all that go about for you? Because I have to quote one person that has been on the show, and shout out to Garrett Walker. He said it perfectly. It's like a puzzle. Whether you have 500 or whether you have 1,000 pieces in this puzzle, they're all scattered on the board, and you're just trying to figure out where these pieces go. And eventually you start slowly putting like the border together, and you start putting like the middle pieces together, and then eventually you have this whole picture, you have this whole song. I mean, there's a lot of struggles with trying to fit pieces together and find where what goes where, but at the end you have this masterpiece, and you have something that you can hang up and that you can cherish for the rest of your life. So what is your creative process like when it comes to writing songs and producing them?
Yeah, it's kind of a tough one because it's not there's no like black and white answer to it. There's no formula for us. And I think a lot of songwriters say that, like there is no formula. But I feel like every song that we write has its own journey, so some of these songs you can look back and go like, well, where was this song like thought of and dreamed about? And it was out of a line while I was driving, and my kid was playing his trumpet out the window, or like it's a hike that we went on, or it's and
Yeah.
so yeah, a lot of times it'll be just like an idea, and then we'll build off that idea, or sometimes it will just be like a song that happened in 5 minutes and it's done. We don't have to like those are the dangerous songs because you grow dependent on those and then you stop songwriting.
Mhm.
um but the other thing to that, sorry, and
No, you're good. You're
let
good.
you
You're
go,
good.
is that like we both have written for a long time on our own. And
Mhm.
so I was in the band for a long time, and I collaborated a lot, but over the years I kind of like grew anemic with not playing with people and just kind of like writing on my own, and you get set in your ways and your own bad habits. So to have another songwriter come along that like is like equally matched if not better, like challenge, it's really shaking the dust off, so to speak,
Yeah, it
as a
makes you really
songwriter.
uncomfortable. There is a lot of growing pains in our process, because there was a lot of, well, you would put a minor two after this chord, or I like just get out of your head. Like a lot of our process was getting our mental blockage out of the way. And I think a second thing to add to that is songwriting isn't just like sitting down to do something, at least for us, but it's an all consuming 24/7 thing. So we really are intentional about waking up with our artists in the morning, and because we want to look through the lens of our songwriting selves from the very moment we wake up, and it really does allow us to see the world differently, allows us to slow down. So it's all consuming in terms of the nitty gritty of it. a lot of time we will record demos on our own or together, and it usually begins with a verse and a chorus, maybe a bridge. We always try to get a verse, chorus, and bridge, even if it sounds crappy. And then we now don't judge our ideas before we flesh them out. And we will force ourselves to stick with a more simplistic melody, and we can always go back to change it or change the words. But doing that kind of placeholder thing has been a game changer for us. Whereas before, at least for me, I would be stuck on the first line of the verse because I'm like, this is not the word I want to use, and then all of these things.
And then it would, yeah, like it wouldn't happen because that you're so interested in like just massaging that one line and you get stuck. And I think all artists like deal with that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then the last thing that has made a huge difference, I think, for us is, I mean, again, going to that puzzle analogy, which I think was brilliant. Sometimes you finish the puzzle and you have to get rid of the puzzle.
Right.
Finish it, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, yeah, this is not good. And it's so hard because it's the only thing where you can spend so much time on music and it still not be good. And you may still have to go start over. And I think just accepting that and just being like, all right, we tried with that one.
Yeah. And you know what's been really good is I have a really hard time surrendering songs. Like when there's a song that's like just bad, like I'll try and force it on people and it never goes well. It's funny, she went away for a wedding not too long ago. I was home by myself for a weekend, and I wrote this whole song, like came up with all this stuff, and I'm like super proud of it. And I sent it to her, and I'm so glad that I have a writing partner that will be honest with me, because she's like, dude, it's not good. And then I went back and listened to it, and I'm like, you're right, this is kind of awful.
I don't think I've ever said it's not good. It usually is never.
No, it's not good. But like the sentiment of like, that's what the conclusion I came to is like, it's not good. And so it's nice to have a writing partner that you're comfortable enough to do that. And then she, like, one of the coolest things about our writing right now is a lot of times I'll bring a chunk of something, and then she comes through like a sculptor. And so a lot of the words and the lyrics that are woven throughout these songs, like the depth of them, she took it to the depths that they are a lot of the time, because I would write like a real surfacey thing, and Presley has such a unique perspective. She said, well, what if we look at it through this lens? And then all of a sudden there's a new depth, a new color to this verse, that a new interpretation for the listener too. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, no, I just always love asking that question because it's so different and it's so unique for any artist out there. Like, doesn't matter if they're a band or if they're a solo artist. Like, it's just always really cool to see artist creative process and just that honesty that you guys have with each other. Like when you share songs and stuff like that, just like to say like, oh no, this isn't good, and then to go back and listen to it, because I co-write with a few people. Shout out to Kate Reed and Noel Williams. Like we're always sharing projects back and forth between the three of us in like a group message, and like just the honesty is always the best policy. Like I just always go by that, and at the end of the day, it's always a really cool question for me to ask, is just how the creative process comes about.
Totally. And something really dangerous happens to an artist when they create only alone. I really believe that. Like, I really feel like you can set yourself on a weird trajectory if you're doing that. So it's always good to have other people speak into your music.
It works the other way too. You could have amazing songs that you don't believe in, that as soon as someone else hears it, it changes their lives.
Totally.
You can't be that critic.
No, exactly. And like kind of just touching up on that, is the perfect example is the first song I ever wrote about my grandfather passing away. That was the first song I ever wrote. I wrote that in 2 hours. I wrote that alone by myself, just all the emotions just threw on the paper. And I think it was a few months afterwards that I was playing the song for a family friend, and he didn't know that I was even writing music or producing and stuff like that. And he'd never heard the song, and his father had just passed away too. And he heard it, and he's like, if I had heard this a few weeks ago when my father had passed away, I would have had that playing as we walked out of the church. And that's the stuff that gets me at the end of the day. And that made me feel whole, and that made me feel proud, because I'm like, I just impacted someone else with a song that I wrote. So it's just really, really cool and special when stuff like that comes around.
It really is. No matter like how big the moment is or how small the moment is. We've been doing like a lot of live streaming on TikTok and doing just connecting with people, like singing a song that has so much meaning to you, and then hearing someone go, that song made me tear up because I'm dealing with this in my life.
Yeah.
It is one of the greatest feelings in the world. It feels like you're contributing and not just consuming.
Exactly. So kind of getting into the fourth question. It's always the hardest question, and some people freeze up on this question. And like I always pride myself on having a very laid back and relaxed type of conversation with people. So it's okay to freeze up on this question because there's no right or wrong answers at the end of the day. And there's millions and millions of artists out there up and coming in all kinds of genres. So what my question is what makes you you at the end of the day? Like, so with your music and stuff like that, like what can people take away that distinct you guys from anyone else? So what makes Gospel Child Gospel Child?
Yeah, we love this question.
Yeah.
I thought it was really great. You want to start?
I'll go.
Okay.
I think for us, we are authentic to a fault, just who we are as people. And so I think that drives what Gospel Child is. And so honestly, like what Gospel Child looks like right now, it's kind of this dark, like kind of Americana country-ish, like there's some hints of like church music in there just because of where we've come from. But it might look like a neo soul album next time. Like really, we're not interested in, at least
Yeah, we're not interested in being commercial in any way, really.
we don't have a desire to make it. We're the make it for us has happened in the sense that we're connecting with people, and large or small, we don't care, and that we have an outlet for this creative facet of us. So really what the band is just, it is defined by who we are, and who we are is kind of undefinable at times, and so we're okay with that.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, we have so many different facets in our life that we are fully invested in, and music is to us the vessel that it all pours into. So whether it's we're beekeeping or we're taking care of his two kids or rescuing guinea pigs, teaching lessons, writing music, being able to have it all get pushed out into one format is really, really relieving. No. Because we do so many things and we just have such a like, we want to try this and we want to go here and see what this is like. We just want to try everything. So having music as our anchor, I think does make us different because it's not the only thing we're doing, but yet it's our main way to express ourselves.
Yeah. And they're like, I think of an artist in my mind, just off the top of my head, like Paul Simon. Paul Simon, like he did not want to be defined by his music, and he just kind of like did his thing and what felt good and what he liked. And
it's just like it's just always so cool to ask that question, like the creative process question and what makes you you at the end of the day. Those two questions are just always my favorite because some people know exactly who they are, and then some people still are trying to figure out their path and still figure out where they want to go with all their music. And that kind of leads into the last question, is speaking of like leading into where you want to go with your music, is just what are your goals as artists? I kind of probably touched up on this a little bit, is obviously where do you want to go with your music? We know we have an album coming out from you guys soon that you're working on. So just what else can we expect down the road, and just where do you want to go with your music for people?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we have like a long-term plan set for this. Again, we have so many things going on, and this is just kind of one of those things. But we love music, and if that became like, if Gospel Child became what we were doing, we wouldn't fight that. But yeah, that said, I think we're content with, these songs that we've been working on. They're really, really personal, and they're full of a lot of heartbreak and full of a lot of like betrayal and the type of stuff that makes a good song, right? And and so we think that there are other people out there that have like experienced this hurt. So even if these songs just like, if they felt like a hug, or it felt like, oh, I'm not alone in that, then that's really all that like matters. I really am genuine when I say that. Like we don't want to try. We're not trying to like this. We're not making money off this, nor are we trying to, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Plus people are so mean on social media. Like it's so mean. Be kind, people. Just really quickly to add to that, for our own sake, and we encourage every artist that if you have feelings in you, the songs deserve to live. So for us, we need this time in our lives to exist without it living inside here anymore. So we need to put it out into the world and move on from it. It was a really terrible time. I know that you can relate. I'm sure there's other people who can relate to this. So I think really our goals are just to continue to express ourselves through music, and we hope that other people can hear it and just feel inspired. That's it.
Yeah. And we tend to favor, honestly, like, and I don't know how this sustains, you know, if like more people start liking us, but we tend to enjoy the human connection more than we do even the playing music. I mean, it's that music is kind of the vessel that makes it so we could connect with people and relate to people.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, and that's awesome. Like when I first found you guys on TikTok, like I was listening to some covers that you guys were doing and stuff like that, and I've just become a fan of yours, and I can't wait for the album to come out. I'm definitely on the journey with you, and I know once my fans and everyone sees this interview, I know they'll be right on the boat with me, just going through this journey through music with you guys.
Well, thanks so
Thanks
much.
so
We're
much.
really happy that we found each other, truly.
No, exactly. Because at the end of the day, just making connections in the music business is really a big part of just going through music, is just making those connections and opening those new doors, because you never know what's going to be behind those doors and what other doors you can possibly open through that.
Absolutely. And Andrew, I'll say this, you know, there was a major act of letting go for both of us, that of like letting go of our aspirations, our desires for music, all of that. As soon as we let go, really, and we're like, let's just have fun with this, we got a message from you. And it was like, it was almost this like confirmation of like letting go. And then shortly after, another podcast actually reached out to us. And then all of a sudden we were playing a show in a couple weeks. And it's like, we fully released it. Like, to what? We don't know, to the universe, whatever. But it was just like a letting go. And it's actually pretty, like, what they say is true. If you let it go, usually like things happen. So
Exactly. No, that's just awesome. That is really awesome. So that's all the questions I kind of have for today. So this kind of gets into the fun part, is hearing a song by you guys. I know you guys were saying earlier in the interview that it's going to be a song, the first song that you guys ever wrote together.
Mm-hmm.
All right, no, so that's awesome. So kind of I'll let you guys do your thing, and I'll put myself on mute, and the floor is yours pretty much.
Okay, great.
cool. Cool. So this is a song that I wrote a while back. And I wrote this song. I talked a little bit earlier about my hometown, Carmel. I moved about 2 hours away from it. And I was sitting there. My hometown was on fire at the time. You could actually see the smoke from, 100 miles away. And I was breathing it in. And I was thinking about my friends and my family and everyone who lives down there still, and like all the things that they were going through. And it made me long for home. It made me miss my home. And so I kind of sat on the song for a long time, and then Presley came along and actually wrote a guitar part for it and the song, and then helped kind of again refine some words and really made this song whole. But I think it's a relatable song, because I think anyone who misses something, usually that something kind of feels like home to them. So I miss the ocean, I miss the breeze, I miss the windy back roads that could set my mind at ease. I miss the tempo everybody's not just running around looking out for themselves. Yeah, everybody's not just climbing that ladder just to stock the shelves. Oh, I wanna go home to where my face is known. Oh, I wanna go home to where my people grown. Yeah, I wanna go home. I used to go out by that river to breathe. Now doctors are pushing pills to give me that same peace. Oh, I broke my heart to leave. Now I can't stop running around looking out for myself. Yeah, I'm just trying to climb that ladder just to stock the shelves. I wanna go home to where my face is known. I wanna go home to where my people were grown. Yeah, I wanna go home. There's a call from the old oak, and the store clerk who knows your name, and the law who will bust you up because of your daddy's drunken fame. Yeah, running around young and after dark, not a care in the world. Long sleeves in the morning with your arm around your favorite girl, and your friends all around you know your family's so messed up. But there's a couch always open for when you're down on your luck. Wanna go home to where my face is known.
Oh, that is, I was just thinking about as I was listening to that. Like before, when I was doing all these interviews and stuff like that, and people were doing their performances, like they are great, and I'm not taking away from anyone, but like I don't get chills very often when it comes to singing and stuff like that. But now I feel like on every episode, like I'm getting chills every single time. So it's like if you don't give me chills, like you're off the show. Like at this point, that's how it works. That was just truly like mind blowing, amazing. Like if I had that to listen to right now for the rest of my life, I'd have that on repeat.
Oh man, you're
thank
so
you so
nice.
much.
Thank you. I apologize. We had a little bit of clipping going on there. I don't know how it sounded on your end. If it was all right.
No, I mean, I was jamming out. I was lost in the song, so I probably didn't even notice, to be honest. But everything was good on my end.
Okay. Cool. We got another one here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
All right, so this next song that we have, this is the first song that we wrote together. So it's a true story, a true feeling. I think one of our favorite things that we've isolated is that a lot of our songs are moments. They're not set in stone feelings or events or actions or even truths necessarily. It's a moment or a feeling. So this is dealing with isolation and abandonment, betrayal from a community that not only was close to you but held you in a high regard at one time.
I'll be laid low, and the side of my face you won't see anymore. This soul, there's nowhere to go, left here in pieces, then swept out the door. His voice cried out every note, the echo resounds and sleeps with his ghost. This is why everyone runs. Tell me why everyone runs. Be out from your knees. These words that I'm screaming get lost out at sea. The games that you play, oh, you are the deity, I'm the kiss on the face. This is why chained to his shame.
I mean, if I had all day, I could just sit here and listen to any song. Like, you guys could just, I mean, I don't say this to a lot of people, is I feel like you guys could take any song and just make it your own. Like, that's how unique in the artistry that you guys have is just, I still have extra, like, I don't know if you can get extra chills, like, because, like, I think that's what I have right now, but not sure if that's a thing, but that's just you. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Really
thanks
appreciate
so
it.
much. Honestly, thanks for taking the time to talk to two strangers about music. It feels good to just talk about music. So
No, exactly. And that's what this whole interview process is about, is just hearing your story through music, just your journey, where you guys are going with your music. And like I said, I just can't wait to hear more stuff from you. I just can't wait to hear both those songs out into the world, because I will be putting those on repeat and I will be blowing those up as much as I can to help you guys out.
Wow, thank you.
yeah, thanks
Thanks
so
so much for
much.
just listening and everyone else who's here.
This is better than therapy. So thanks, man.
Yeah.
No, of course. I just, again, I appreciate you guys taking time out of your day. I know you guys are busy. And just for anyone for that matter that's been on the show, is just to take the time really means a lot to me, to just talk to a kid from Massachusetts who just started this 2 years ago. So it's crazy to me. So thank you guys.
Oh man, Andrew, it's been great. Thank you. You're a class act,
Yeah,
honestly.
you're a
Like
great
your
interviewer.
communications, everything. Like all of your artists, I'm sure that you've had on the show know how rad you are. So
Yeah, you're
Th-
amazing.
yeah.
No,
So
thank you. And it just means a lot, because back in the day, like I was just I think I just said this in my last interview with another band, as Kelly and Kat, is I used to be super shy back in the day, which is crazy to me, because now I just, like, I don't shut up. Like, I'm like talking 24/7. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
But again, thank you guys. Real quick before I do my little outro, is just where can we find you on all social medias?
yeah, okay. So for Gospel Child, the music you're hearing here, it's underscore at underscore Gospel Child on TikTok. We're kind of, that's the community that we're kind of developing and working with right now. And then we have like our Instagram, which is like kind of more of like our lifestyle stuff that we do, like the bees and the gardening and all that. And that's at garden underscore punks.
Perfect. So yeah, that kind of concludes another episode of the Spotlight series, hosted by yours truly, ACK. Y'all know the drill at this point. We're up over 50 episodes. So you guys know, Sundays, 1 p.m. Eastern. I will see you all next week, and thanks for tuning in.